Staff Kof Yud Beis. All learning should bring in incredible chashiv v'zalchaim and devar tam receiver v'zarachol jom levizav levimentali Shema ben Chayav l'mutas v'asima malka as well as chashiv v'shem shall use any freidish moment tilam v'zalzim v'chlas v'cham v'asviva Sarah Blum v'asmil l'chaim v'shishu ben malka v'shefidu shechan v'chavalev v'saradina b'esaych shar chayli Yisrael. We're holding on the top line of Kuf Yud Beis Amid Aleph, and now today we're really gonna roll back the clock and explain the Mishnah that we spoke about yesterday. When we read the Mishnah about when a woman comes in to make a claim that her husband, the Yavam, has not been with her for the first 30 days of her marriage, or after the first 30 days, we spoke out that the case was that she shows up to Beis Din holding a get. And that really that was Rashi explaining based on the Gemara they're about to see together right now. So it says the Gemara on the top line, Ad Sheikaifen Aisahi Lachlights. That says the Gemara that instead of telling him to do chalitza, I don't understand. Nichben uliyavim. The Mishnah said that what happens when within 30 days she comes in, we tell him you must do chalitza. Says the Gemara, why? I don't understand. Tell him to do yibum. Amar Rav explains Rav Shagita Yoitim Midachas Yada. The case is where she is holding the get, and therefore they can't do Yibam, but we have to require them to do Chalitza in the event that they were actually not together. Says the Gemara Meisvei. The Gemara asks a question. Yevamos Amar B'Zach Shloshim Yom Lo Nevalti. If the Yevamos says we were not together for 30 days, Bein Shehu Amar Bi'alti, Bein Shehu Amar Lo Bi'alti, whatever he says. Case A of the Braisa, she says we weren't together, we don't care what he says, they have to get chalitza. Let's say it's already been 30 days, then we don't force anymore, rather now we ask him to do chalitza. Continues the Braisa. If she says if after 30 days, Rashi spells out, she says we were together, and he says, Eloi bialti, we were not. Hareze yoytze beget. What's the halacha? No more chalitza. Why not? Because she says they were together, and therefore she needs a get. Hu amer bialti. But if after 30 days he says we were together, but vihi omeres loy nevalti. What's the halacha? Even though he goes back and he says, no, you're right. We were not together. Still, we're machmer on both angles. Sarich get v'chalitza. So says the Gemara, a very simple question. From the fact that in this last case, what are we saying? They need a get and a chalitza. Obviously, the case is not one that she's holding the get. And yet the Braisa mimicked the halachas in the Mishnah. So seemingly the din in the Mishnah is even when she's not holding a get. Explains the Gemara, Ravami Sricha Chalitza Im Gita. The Braisa doesn't mean she needs a get and a Chalitza. It means together with the get that she currently has, she needs Chalitza right now. Answer number one of Ravami for half. Ravashi Amar a secondary Tasam Gel Zikasai, Hocha Gel Biyasai. There's a different case that when Rav said about the get, he's referring to a get for the Zika. Whereas here it just means a get in case they were together. So the Braisa is talking about a completely different case, and that's why in this last case of the Braisa there is the get upon discussion. But in reality, the Mishnah can still be talking about a case in which she walked in holding the get. The Gemara says the story Hanu Shneim Moidim, when these two people, the Yavam and the Yevama, come in, and they both are Maida. They both agree they were never together for the first 30 days, and now it's more than 30 days. To Asli Kamei, the Rava, they came to Rava, Amlu, Rava, Chalutzula, says Rava, they have to do Chalitza, Vesharula, and then she'll be, Sharula, take her and finish up her business. Because in this case, since the Yavam is agreeing that they were not together, therefore you do not have to give a get, you just have to do chalitza. Amrli Rav Shravya, the Rava says Rav Shravya, Aiva Tanya Shricha get v'chalitza. The Braisa seemingly said you need both. Amar Le, Rava responds, Tanya, you know what, I retract. If there is such a Braisa, I'm going to go with that Braisa, and indeed, she's going to need both. And we conclude this first part of today's share with the Shaila Ba'i Minei Hain Berei the Rav Nachman, Hain the son of Rav Nachman, asked his father Rav Nachman, Sarasa Mau, What is the halacha regarding the tzara, the co-wife in these cases? Amar lei, chivim neishanu koivim v'vakshet yasser tzara. I don't understand. Just because we force the yavam to chalitza, or we requested to do chalitza, whether it's within 30 days or after 30 days, you're going to make the tzara aser? Of course not. The tzara is mutter, and she's allowed to continue being mutter like she always thought that she was. Continues the Gemara, Anoideres Hana, quoting the next din in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that if during the husband's lifetime, a woman makes a neder Hana from the brother, then the Mishnah continue with the din. So now says the Gemara, what is the halacha that if it wasn't a specific neder Hana from her husband? That was the Mishnah. A new case, says the Gemara, at the two dots, 20 lines down in Kuvi Yabez Amud Aleph. Tanan also learned to the Mishnah. Originally they said 3 women get divorced and they leave, they have to get divorced, but they get their ksuba. If a woman says, I am tamei to you, Hashamayim beinoy lebeinach, if he says, Shamayim, heavens between me and you, a neder, or if she says, I'm taken from among the Jews. So in these 3 l'shainas that a woman says, we tell her she has to get divorced, but she collects her ksuba. But says the Mishnah Chazar Leimar, but then the Rabbanan retracted, and they said we're making it too easy. If this woman sees another man that she finds desirable and she wants to get divorced, she'll say any one of these 3 things, and boom, her husband has to divorce her, and she even gets her ksuba. Ella says the Raisa no, a little bit differently. If she says, I am tamei to you, Tavi raya l'dvareha, she has to bring a raya to that which she said, and then she'll get divorced. Hashamayim beini lebeinach, yaseh derech b'kasha. If she says Shamayim's between us, heaven's between us, then what? They ask him to divorce her. Natulani min hayudin, then Yafer, the husband, Chalka knows his vow, and he's allowed to stay with her. And he's allowed to sleep with her. But she's still going to be away from the rest of the Jews. Because what was her words? I'm separated from all the Jews. Okay, so you're separated from all the Jews, but you can still be with your husband. That's in those 3 cases. But now says the Gemara about 8 lines at the end of the Hamid. If a woman says, I am taken away, I am separated from all the Jews, is she allowed to do Yibam? The husband dies childless. What's her story with regarding to her husband's brother? Is it in her mind that maybe her husband died and maybe she'll fall to the Yavam? And that's included in her words when she says, I want to be separated from all Jews. I lie or not? Rav Amar Yavam Eino Kebal, Shmuel Amar Yavam Areu Kebal. Amachleik is Rav and Shmuel. The Rav says Yavam is not like the Baal, and rather the Yavam is allowed to be with her, so it's never included in her das. Shmuel says no. The Yavam is just like the husband. Just like the husband is also to her, unless he comes and Yafer annuls that portion of the vow. So too with the husband's brother. So Amar Abaye says, Abraya, I'll bring you a raya kavasit the Rav Mistavra the Tanana there's Anami Yevama. So who's neither Hana bechaye by the life of her husband. Kaivina says she'achlos, we force him to do chalitza. V'imi said Damaskia Datayu, and if it's true according to your second side that it's in his das that he has in mind the husband's brother, mevakshin mi ba'ilei, that we shouldn't force him to do chalitza. We should ask him. And therefore, says the Gemara, from the fact that we force him, it shows us that it actually never was in her mind, just like the opinion of Rav. Says the Gemara, no, right, on the top line of Kuf Yabezim Abeis, Hachav Amayaskinon, Be'isha Sheish Leibanim, she has children, to Kuliyayla Maskia Daita, so it's not in her mind that all her kids and her husband will die. That's why it was not in her das that she might ever fall to Ibam, because she has children as well. Says the Gemara, let's say she didn't have children, what would the halacha be? Mevakshin. The halacha would be that we just ask him to do chalitza datani in this kavan lekach. But therefore, it asks the Gemara, instead of saying the case that if he had kavana afilu b'chayi b'ayla mevakshin and shiachlois, the Mishnah should have honed in on this detail and split it in two. The Bamed var mamurim b'sheish leibanim havlein leibanim vakshin. Elo shma mina, says the Gemara, lo shnam yesh labanim, lo shayin lo banim, kaifin I say kiraf. We force him to do chalitza, like the opinion of Rav Shema Mina, and that is a raya. Hadron aloch v'shamai. We should do an incredible chazara. And now we're really officially in the home stretch. But the final 10 daf is actually 3 more prakim, but it's only 10 more daf. And let's continue. Now this Mishnah hopefully should sound slightly familiar to everyone, as the cases that we're about to discuss in this Mishnah were cases that we had previously, many of them. So it says the Mishnah, Chayrish and Asa Bikachas, we have a Chayrish, we have a deaf mute. Let's just remind ourselves, there's 3 categories, La Halacha. There's the Chayrish, the deaf mute, that has some level of das, but not like a full-fledged yid. We have a bikeach, that is a full-fledged das, 100%. Then there's a shaita that we say has no das. So says the Mishnah, Chayrish and Nasa Bikechas. A Chayrish marries a woman who's a regular, healthy, mentally competent woman, or a bikech does chareshes. And they can either get divorced or they can stay married, whatever they choose. Just like they get married biramiza in the case of the Chayrish, so too you get divorced in the same manner. So this couple can either stay married or get divorced, however they would like. Continues the Mishnah, and then she loses her das, she becomes a daf mut. Nishtatis, but let's say she becomes insane, and now she has 0 das. Lo yoitzi, now you're not able to divorce her anymore. Let's say he becomes a chayrish, or he becomes a shaita insane. He does not have das, he can never divorce her. Continues the Mishnah, Rav Yochanan Huri, says Rav Yochanan Huri in the 3rd wide line. Says Rav Yochanan Huri, I don't understand why when he becomes a chayrish, he's allowed to divorce her. But when she becomes a chersha, she's allowed to get divorced. But when he becomes a chayrish, she's not allowed to divorce her. So Amrullah, the Chachamim or the Tanakama responded, you cannot equate the 2 cases. Why not? A woman can be divorced whether she likes it or not. But a man can only be divorced if he has das for it. Hey, Rav Yochanan Gudgda continues the Mishnah on this point. The Rav Yochanan Gudgda gave eidos al chareshes sheisiya avia. We have a chareshes that her father married her off. She yaitza beged, she's allowed to get divorced. Amrullah, the Rabbanan said, Avzeh ki yaitza bay. This one is just like her, meaning the husband was also a chayresh. That is why he was able to divorce the chareshes. Continues the Mishnah Beizachin. Now we have 2 brothers, Chershin and Sun Lebeizachayis Charoshois. They got married to 2 sisters who were Charoshois, or to 2 sisters who were fully das, or so any permutation. Nusuyin, or now we flip it. We have 2 women who are chayrishais, deaf mutes, and they are nusuyin l'shteyachin bechad. What's the halacha in all these cases? Re'elu peturim in chalitza min hayibam. There is no chalitza, there is no yibam. But if they're unrelated, why is there no chalitza and yibam? Because it's achais isha, the wife of your sister. If they're unrelated, you can't. So they could get married. You want to get divorced, get divorced. Continues the Mishnah, Shteyachin echad chayrish b'kech nesuin l'shteyach chayos pekachis meis chayrish bal pekachis. If the chayrish, the one who was married to that mentally well woman, dies, mayase b'keach bal b'keches. So they're related, they're sisters. Anytime, this goes back to that which we spoke about on the first day of Yevamos and Daf Base, that anytime the situation of Yibam to one that is without, to one that is related to Achais Isha, you are pater because of erva. Continues the Mishnah, Meis Bikech Baal Bikeches, Mayasa Chayresh Baal Bikeches. If the Pikeach is nifter, what does a Chayresh do? Maitzi Ishtoi. Now he has to divorce his own wife, big get. Why does he have to divorce his own wife? Because his own wife, the Cherish, is only married midrabanan. And now what happens after his brother dies? Now there's a zika to his brother's wife. But wait, he's a married woman. So that's called achais zikukasai, which is forbidden. So says the Mishnah, the Cherish has to divorce his own wife, and he's also the always. This Cherish is pretty messed up. Continues the Mishnah, Shteyachad Bichan, as soon as Shteyachad Zechas Charish Zechas Bikachas, Meis Bikeh Bal Charesh, Mayas Bikeh Bal Bikachas. Tetim Shamachais Ish, the same din. Meis Bikeh Bal Bikachas, Mayas Bikeh Bal Chareshes. Moitis Ishtoi Biket. So he has to divorce his own wife because Achoy Ziku Kasli. Vesish Achav Bechalitza, but he can give Chalitza. Shteyachad Bechal Charesh Vechad Bikeach. If we have two brothers, one's a Cherish, one's a Bikech, and as soon as they are Cherish, that's a Bikeches. Meis Cherish Bal Charesh, Meis a Bikech Bal Bikeches. Teitzi Mishem Achayis Isha. Meis Bikech Bal Bikeches, Meis a Cherish Bal Chareshes. Moitez Isha Biget. In the same case, he has to divorce his own wife because but he's usher to the Ish's Ach forever because there was some marriage already. And as soon as they in we can do either or. What does a cherish do? We can only get married, he cannot divorce. And finally, so a lot of these cases we had already, all the different permutations and combinations of brothers and sisters, cherish and bikeach. The Isra of Achayis Kukasai, that when one is married midrabanan, and then the sibling falls on a deraisa level that destroys their own marriage, they have to get divorced from both. Divorce one and also the other. We'll pick up for the Gemara in the next year.